first of all, does our school need saving? Let's see. If I point here or here?
You can point anywhere. The second button.
There it is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start in 2018. In 2018, I'm just going to go with students that were 2 or more years behind. And it's going to be hard to see, but I'm going to go ahead and read it right here. 46% of our students were 2 or more grades behind. The reason that 2 or more grades behind is important is because by the time a child reaches 4th grade, if they are 2 or more grades behind, the chances of them graduating from high school go way down, tremendously down. Oh, this one right here, can I go back? Yeah. Beginning of 2019-20, they decided for some reason not to do whole school data, and that's such a travesty with such a great program. This diagnostic is touted by the literacy coach at Region 2 as the best diagnostic. So the fact that we let it lie dormant or only did just a few grades, to me, it's just sad. I wish I still had the data. Okay, in 2021, well, we quit school in 2020, right? So at the beginning of 2020, we were only 45%, same average. 45% of the kids were 2 or more years behind. This year, 54% of our kids starting this year were 2 or more grades behind. Now, we all know probably the reason. I mean, not being in school, virtual lessons, kids coming every other day. They weren't doing those virtual lessons that we literally spent hours on. And, I mean, some of these kids weren't going at all, weren't coming at all. So, of course, it's going to affect our scores. Now, why do I think I have the authority to say anything about what's best for our school? First of all, I've been helping UPES students raise their scores for a really long time. I don't know, this might be my 30th year to teach, it might be my 29th. I've been here over 20 years I taught in Texas for 7 years, then came here. Around 2007, I transferred from Spearsville High School to what's now Union Parish Elementary. Principal Carol Smith asked me to teach the 4T class. These were students who should be in the 5th grade, but were having trouble passing the 4th grade state mandated test. I was to teach them 5th grade social studies and science, but remediate them in math and/or reading. Because of behavior problems and low motivation, with permission from the administration, I began paying children money at UPES through checkbooks. An incentive game I created to increase commitment to learning. They would get 10 cents for being involved in a question, whether the question was right or wrong, if they were focused and they were into it, if they had their homework, whether it was completed all the way or not. They would get rewarded. If they were talking, if they were serving, if they were trying to get some, I took money, 5 cents, 10 cents, to get their attention. They had little checkbooks on their desks. I had a measure of amount of freedom to develop the lessons as I saw fit for my class. Most of my students were reading at a 1st or 2nd grade level. I didn't realize moving a child up 3 grades in 1 year in math or reading was that unusual. Turns out it is. Many students like Dawson, our own school board's president's son, grew 3 grades and passed elite at the end of the year. However, I saw myself as a failure for not being able to move more of them forward enough. I still remember the hope and happiness I saw in one child when his diagnostic grew from kindergarten level to 2nd grade in 1 year. The devastation on the same boy when his 60-point improvement, the most of anyone I taught that year, failed to move him out of the unsatisfactory range on the state test. This was more the norm for my children. Checkbooks seemed to work well with the 4T class. and the good Lord laid it on my heart to help other teachers play the same incentive game in their rooms to help with behavior motivation. So I started a nonprofit called Arrowmaker Outreach. Mrs. Parker in the 5th grade and Miss Lewis in the 2nd said they wanted to try it in their class. The money we paid the children came from donations, garage sales, and our own pockets. Around 20, no, next one. Oh, I'm going backwards. And you go forwards, 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 forwards. These are pictures. If you'll look, you'll see checkbooks on these kids' desks. They had to keep them on their desks at all times. This is a permission slip that I have from 2012. Yes, I'm fanatical about keeping records. You are aware, Arrowmaker Outreach, blah, 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 2012. This is somebody signing up and giving us permission to take their picture and stuff concerning Arrowmaker Outreach in Miss Lewis's and or Miss Parker's class. This is the nonprofit corporation that has existed since 2011. Arrowmaker's mission statement. Our mission is to positively impact communities living below the poverty level through school-based academic achievement, contests, financial planning assistance, that's coming someday, I hope, and charity. For instance, y'all know Miss Brenda, our custodian, when her house burned down, Arrowmaker was used as a vehicle to donate $2,300 to her to get her started again in a good living space. Arrowmaker has given funds to other people, but our main focus is UPES children. Is there evidence that can help Union Parish Elementary? Last year we started a pilot program, an experiment, with the entire 3rd grade. Now we didn't start this experiment until November because that's when they asked me to take back, I was a music teacher, had been for 6 years, they asked me to take back over the 3rd grade. So I did, and I resurrected Arrowmaker helping the kids. Anyone who signed up for Arrowmaker in the entire 3rd grade would get paid for lessons they passed on already and receive bonuses for improving their scores. Let's follow their progress. This is I'm showing 2nd graders, 4th graders. The first column of 3rd graders are just 3rd grade without Arrowmaker, and these are the 45 kids who went through the program who signed up for Arrowmaker, the 3rd column. So first of all, let's look at how far down these children were in terms of 2 years or more below, because remember, that's really important. 2nd grade, 59% at the beginning of 2020 were 2 or more grades below. The regular 3rd grade, 60%. My 3rd grade, my kids that signed up, I actually had the lower kids. 71% of my kids were 2 or more years behind. In the 4th grade, 73% of the children were 2 or more grades behind. Now, we'd already been out since March, so you can imagine that would be true. Here's what happened, and I wish something happened to my 4th grade column. I apologize. This is what happened in the spring test. I want you to notice that by the end of the year, here's Arrowmaker, there's this 3rd column right here. We had gotten kids on grade level by 22%. 27% were only 1 grade behind. That is 47% of the kids. By the end of the year, let's take a look at who is 2 or more grades behind. 2nd grade had reduced their lowest kids by 26%. 3rd grade had actually added kids who were 2 or more grades behind, and here's why. We added kids toward the end of the year that could not sign up for Arrowmaker because Arrowmaker was for those kids who had signed up previously. So it's not surprising that 3rd grade's progress didn't show when we added those kids who had been home all year to the end and they took the test. our third grade arrow makers reduced kids who were 2 or more grades behind by 20%. Let's continue to follow them. This is now last fall. Third graders were second graders before. Fourth grade, here's fourth grade. Here's arrow makers. Now I want you to notice at the very beginning of the year, arrow maker outreachers, the kids who signed up for the AMO program, are 10% less 3 grades behind than the regular other fourth graders. That means not only did they learn, they held on to the learning through the summer. We still, let's see, bottom line, let's go to who's got 2 or more grades behind the most. Okay, this graph includes, I'm talking about the graph you just saw, students who did not attend school. Of course our scores are gonna be terrible. In order to have completely accurate comparison, these students should not have been included in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, but there's no way for me to for me to take them out and compare just the kids that were here with just the kids who were here at AMO. But I want you to remember the arrow makers, all the arrow makers, there's 42 of them left, did attend all last year at school. Okay, so that is one difference that I can't make amends for. I can't calculate for. The diagnostic has now moved a grade ahead. That means everybody that was in 3rd grade, if they're not showing in 4th grade, now they're showing a year behind, right? So it's logical for those on grade level to now be a grade behind. Percentages of students of 2 or more grades behind are as follows. 83% of the 3rd graders were 2 or more grades behind. 69% of the 4th graders were 2 or more years behind. Same with arrow makers, 69% were 2 or more grades behind. In the 5th grade, 85% were 2 or more grades behind. But I do want you to notice with 4th grade, even with the regular kids, there's less of them 2 or more years behind. Even with kids that we're including that were virtual. And I want you to pay attention to this right here. The average 3rd through 5th was 79%. 79% of the class, 2 years behind or more. So I want you to take a look at this. This is now the winter test. And I've added trend lines, and I've also added another column here. This is an average. The first column is the average of 3rd through 5th grade. 41% of them are 3 or more grades, 37%, we'll talk about that later. I want you to take a notice of this column, the second column right here, because these are 84 students that I randomly looked at through iReady, and I just picked the top 7 kids who had the most iReady lessons done. Now I was gonna pick, I have a bus tutoring group that I was paying, and I was gonna use them because they come in, instead of waiting for their bus out in the hall, they come in, Mr. Jackson lets them come into a computer lab, and we do iReady, and they get paid for their lessons, both math and reading. I would love to show you that, except y'all changed the buses so much that some kids can't come anymore. Some other kids, now they can come, because the buses are so messed up, I can't do that. So I just chose the top 84 students, 7 in each class, 7 times 4 times 3. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. These kids right here who are doing iReady lessons are 9% higher and just 1 grade behind. There's 5% less 2 grades behind, 2% less 3 or more grades behind. I want you to take a look at these arrow makers right here. The ones who stayed in school, now there's 42 of them. 40% of them are only 1 grade behind. 10% are 2 grades behind. 40% are 3 or more grades behind. They have basically improved better than anybody else still. Why is that? Why did that happen? Let's talk about it. Here's the average. The average 3rd through 5th grade reduced those kids, those lowest kids, by 5%. The iReady kids that are working right now, I don't even know who some of these kids are. They're just doing iReady lessons. They might be doing it at the house. They might be doing it in their room. They've reduced theirs by 8%. Regular fourth grade has reduced theirs by 11%. Arrow makers have reduced theirs 2 years or more by 19%. Okay, so why? It's because they are believing in themselves. They're believing in themselves. Here's how I know that to be true. When I was in 3rd grade, I could not read. Talk about reasons. I was in the hospital in the 1st grade, nearly died. In the 2nd grade, when you nearly die in the 1st grade, they let you sleep. I slept through my 2nd grade class. My parents got divorced. We moved to Texas. I did not know what the vowels were. Now, I could say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but I didn't know what vowels did at all. I could not read. I'm just like these kids who are 2 or 3 years behind, reading at a kindergarten level in the 4th grade. I was just like them. My mom got so tired of sending me to summer school and summer school and summer school and summer school, she finally sent me to this place, brand new place, called the Sylvan Learning Center. 50 years ago. Brand new ideas. And they had something called a computer. And with this computer, they put me on these lessons by myself with headphones on so that I could go over these lessons and it could bypass my fight against it, thinking, I can't understand, I can't understand, I can't understand, until I did understand. As a sophomore, I nearly flunked my sophomore year. As a junior, I was on the honor roll. That's how quickly it caught me up. Because once I knew that I could do, then I believed and I wasn't fighting it anymore. That's what these kids do. They fight us because they don't even believe they can understand it to begin with. Here's how this program helped me. I was so low I thought it was stupid, so I played the I don't care game. I needed something to help me believe in my own ability to learn. I was too ashamed to ask questions in class because I didn't want the other kids to know how dumb I was. I needed something I could do by myself without feeling self-conscious or conscious of others. There were so many gaps in my learning, there wasn't enough time in the day for an educator to diagnose everything I needed, blah, 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 let alone give any kind of individual attention to every other child. I needed something that could easily diagnose and pinpoint what I was lacking, but also scaffold and build on what concepts I already knew. I needed to understand at my own pace and repeat the lesson if necessary until I really understood it without assistance. Being ADHD, never mind. Let me ask you this, one question. Raise your hand if you ever YouTube anything to learn how to do something. Keep your hand up if you have to redo the YouTube a couple of times to figure it out. What in God's green earth makes us think that these kids are going to get this lesson the first time and then we're going to go on? Because that's what we are required to do as teachers. Hand to God, we have to go on whether they get it or not. And we don't even do that as adults. Okay, get off my soapbox. Being ADHD, and I still am, I needed less distractions and more focus. Using headphones helped me focus and block out other noises. I could do my work myself with no one hovering over me, distracting me, or entertaining me. I got immediate feedback and helped me realize whether I was on the right track. Does this description sound similar to students we teach today? Everything I described that helped me 50 years ago is included in the iReady program we have today. Only iReady is even better. iReady is the best tool for a student to repeat the lesson if they don't understand the concept. In what other area besides our state mandated curriculum do we just go on Let me go on. I've already talked about that. They find success by starting on the level they can work out by themselves. Change the way they see themselves and their ability to learn due to the winner effect. Now, what's the winner effect? Because this is super important. This is what I'm using with ArrowMaker Outreach. The winner effect is the increased likelihood that an individual will win encounters as a result as having won previous encounters. If these kids never do anything by themselves and they never succeed, they feel the loser effect. Here's the loser effect. Is a reduced likelihood, and this is scientific, you can look it up, Google it. It's a reduced likelihood that an individual will win future contests after repeated experiences of losing such contests. Repeated losing can cause physiological changes such as increased cortisone, or decreased testosterone. A loser effect is increased in our children when they, 1, never complete an academic test because we always have to move on. 2, never complete any work by themselves. 3, get a passing grade when they know they've only put their name on the paper and answered 2 of the 10 questions. 4, never pass a state mandated test or show improvement in it no matter how hard they try. That gives them the loser effect. These are reasons students don't care, tune out, say things like, "School's just not for me, miss." I can't tell you how many times I've heard it. I am worried. This is the reason I'm here. I am worried our parish will soon do away with the one tool I can use to reach kids and pay kids I don't even teach who don't believe in themselves. I really will be done away with at our school. I'm worried about it. Here's why. I was told this year by an administrator a few months ago not to be surprised if we, Union Parish Elementary, did away with iReady in the next few years. Number 2, first and second grade didn't take their iReady winter test diagnostic in December or January. That's not abnormal for kindergarten, but it is for first and second. When I asked the administration, they were planning on giving the midterm reading diagnostic to all of them, they just said just the math. Last week was when we started doing the iReady reading test. Case in point, iReady can be used quarterly to check our midterm progress, but for some reason it's either being overlooked or placed on the back shelf. Here's another case in point. When iReady was mentioned just now, and I just added this to my presentation, the high school literacy coach said, "For now, I will have no time to fulfill my promise." I'm worried I have no time. I don't have any time. They've now put me back in second grade. Am I getting out my checkbooks? Absolutely. Am I paying these kids when they can get on iReady to do iReady? Absolutely. I can't wait to show you those results. I'm going to show you. I'll show you at the end of the year. I will have and right now, I don't have time to I get to go to the bathroom 2 times a day for 5 minutes. There's no time for lunch. There's no time. I take stuff with me at lunch, eat, and try to work on iReady stuff or ammo stuff and pay these kids, figure out how much I'm going to pay these kids as I'm doing it. I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to fulfill my promise to them. We are choosing to believe, here's the worst part of everything. I am worried that we are choosing to believe other people's data, wherever they get it from, maybe for better sales, rather than the gold mine of data we have right in front of us about our own children through iReady. Tons and tons. There are a billion things I could show you about iReady and these kids that are learning right now. The end.